Welcome back, everybody, to another Heroes of the Storm tutorial. I'm your host, wInevitable, and today we're taking our first in-depth look at a map, in particular, Garden of Terror. Now, this is going to be a bit more on the beginner side of things, not so much advanced or expert. If you have a good bit of experience on this map already, you might just want to take a pass on this video. We're going to be going over basically how it works, how it's set up, the basic layout, and the objectives and how things work. We're not going to get too in-depth on strategy or anything at this time. Definitely going to be coming back to each map in the future and going more, on the advanced and expert side of things, but we want to start off with the basics here for anyone new to Heroes of the Storm. And so, yeah, let's jump into it. Let's look at Garden of Terror, and then actually let's hop into the game. Now, this is a great page here that Blizzard gave us for each of the maps. You can go to Battle.net, go to the Heroes of the Storm page, and actually click on Battlegrounds, and it'll give you a detailed description of each of the 5 maps we currently have in the game. So this is Garden of Terror, and it's the description here. Once the royal gardens were a splendor to behold, but lately a shadow has fallen over them. Writhing tendrils creep across the grounds at night, and a number of servants have disappeared while walking its twisting paths. It's pretty scary. Queen Nightshade claims to be unaware of these incidents, but some are beginning to suspect she has gone mad. And I guess this is Queen Nightshade here. Looks like she's having a bad hair day. And then this little dude is hanging out in the potted plants. It's a fun map. And you can see there are a number of objectives here. They give you first the fight the night horrors. At night, there's a day cycle and a night cycle, and at night the horrors will rise from the gardens, and you can attack them to capture seeds. As you see, collect seeds is your objective, right? Kill the horrors, and each of them will drop seeds, and you can collect seeds for your team. And then summon a garden terror with 100 seeds. So once you've collected 100 seeds, you can summon this big monstrosity. It looks a lot like this, and you can control it and destroy your enemies with it. So if we scroll down a little bit, get rid of that little overlay, and you can see if I hold control here, I can zoom out pretty nicely to give you a nice top-down look at this map. You've got your 2 halls of this halls of the storm. Wait, the altar, right? Altar, yes, right here. And this is where you spawn on the the left and then the right. You've got your core right here. This little the rook, the castle there. That's your core, surrounded by 3 keeps, as you can see on each side, and then there's a couple towers there. Like if we zoom in on the left side, you get actually a nice in-depth look here, and you can see the gates. This is kind of the town area in here. This is your tier 2s with these keeps, and of course you have towers, 3 towers defending each lane. And then this is actually, if you click on it, the fertile soil. And what will happen is once you collect 100 seeds, this is where you will spawn the Garden Terror. And basically, one player can spawn, can go and summon it, and they take control over it. They lose their the regular abilities for as long as the Garden Terror is alive. And then once the Garden Terror, it has like a second health bar, and a timer on it. Once one of those runs out, you're then back into your hero form. And so you'll have a new set of abilities while you're in the Terror, and we'll definitely show that off in-game. He has 3 cool abilities. He has the ability to turn other heroes into plants where they can't do any damage. He can stop the forts and towers and keeps from shooting with his W and actually do a ton of damage to both the structures and minions and heroes. And then he has his E as a sprint, which actually is a little slow, so it'll speed him up quite a bit. And so there are 3 lanes, and you've got, of course, a fort with 3 towers in each lane. Taking a look at the top lane here, you can see both sides here pretty even, of course, and the lanes will have these grass areas. On Garden of Terror is actually where you can hide. You can set up a lot of ganks. This area in particular is really well known as a ganking spot. If you set a hero here and say a Stitch is over here and you hook somebody into this area, they're body blocked and they can't get out. So definitely watch out for areas like that. You'll have more grass spread out across the map. You can see it pretty clearly here. Like there's some there, here, there, and it's great hiding spots for you to really ambush your opponent. Now, it does have the 3 lanes. Of course, the mid lane here being the shortest, and the bottom and top lanes being a little bit longer, but not quite as exaggerated as the map Cursed Hollow, which we'll cover in a future video. And let's see, what else haven't we covered? The merc camps, I think, are the big thing left at this point. Before we get into the night cycle, you can see there are 2 cycles here, day and night. It'll actually give you a different lighting experience. And so on each side of the map, you'll have 3 merc camps. 2 easy camps with siege giants and 1 hard camp with the knights. And actually, if you split it vertically as well, it'll be the same setup. So these are, say, we'll call this the blue team. These are the blue team's mercenaries, an easy siege camp up here. Another one right here below mid lane, and then the knights camp right close to bottom lane. And if you go to the other side, the red side, of course, you have the same setup. The knights are actually opposite. It's not a mirror if you slice it down the middle. It's actually crossed like this, the symmetry. So you have the knight camp here and another knight camp here. Then this is an easy camp, and here's an easy camp. And so one thing you'll notice about these camps, there's a lot of them. There's 6, so it's it's got quite a few, but also they are pretty well exposed in a sense. If you come down here in the mid lane, for example, and this is about the middle of the mid lane, it's only, if you're mounted up, about 5 seconds to go from here to this bush. And of course you do have this bush here, so if you're taking the siege ogres, the giants, you don't know it necessarily. You want to be careful if somebody's in this bush. They're very easy. It's very easy to gank the enemy team when they're taking a camp, and also to come in here, say if you have bribe, for example. It's a mechanic talent we have not talked about a lot, but a bribe, we'll cover that probably in a future video. It basically, once you get enough stacks of bribe, you can go and pay the mercenaries off. You don't actually have to fight them and beat them into submission to get them to fight for you. And so if you have the bribe stacks, you could come in here and bribe these camps pretty easily, pretty quickly. And so you will see they are kind of exposed. Even the hard camp, it's not that far getting from the middle of the lane, in your lane to the enemy team's camps. They're not hidden. You look at a map like Cursed Hollow, for example, they're a little bit safer. They're a little bit farther back from the front lines there. And that's definitely something to note on Garden of Terror, is their proximity to the enemy's side of the map. So there are 6, and but that's it's pretty common to have a lot per map, and we're not going to talk too much about when to take them. Really, that's going to be more on the advanced side of things. I did want to point out that they are there, and they will push the closest lane. So whoever takes these siege giants here, they will push the bottom lane in either the red team's direction if the red team captures them, or the blue team's direction towards the core here if the blue team captures them. Knights will push the bottom lane as well. These 2 camps of siege giants will push middle lane, and then this set of knights and this set of siege giants will push the top lane. Okay, so let's go ahead and click the knight button, and it will transform into a bit of a scary looking map here. And you can see that the mercenaries are still here. They're still there. You can still take them during the night cycle. What's here that's not present during the day cycle are these terrors. There's 3 camps on the top side of the map and 3 on the bottom. And now if we actually will zoom in on the bottom camp here, and you can see there's a little bit of a difference here. You have a large terror, and you have 3 smaller terrors off to the side, and then 3 more small terrors on the right side. And you'll notice if we zoom back out again, you kind of have like a blue team set of terrors and a red team set of terrors on both sides of the map, and then 1 giant terror in the middle. Now remember, you need 100 seeds to summon a garden terror, and what you'll get actually is these large terrors give you 60, and the small camps will give you a total of 15. So it's 5 per small horror, and that adds up to 180, right? So both teams aren't going to be able to get a terror off of 1 night cycle. Of course, you do keep the seeds throughout the game. They don't disappear. But once you have 100, it's a countdown until your terror spawns. We'll show that off in game, and then you have a limited timer within which to summon the terror. If you don't summon the terror within that time, it will disappear. You will lose that 100 seeds. But otherwise, if you have less than 100 seeds, they will stay there until the next night cycle comes back. And you can actually stack terror on terror if you get, say, 200 seeds over a course of 2 night cycles. You could potentially do that, and then all of a sudden you'll have back-to-back terrors. Terrors are a big mechanic. They do a ton of damage, as we said, to buildings and to minions. They're great for pushing a lane, and you can actually team fight with them quite well. And so the only other thing we really want to say before we get into the game and show off, just the basics of it, is that, as we've said, there are 180 seeds in a night cycle. And so if you get both of your small camps and one of the large terrors, both teams would end at 90. And the idea is going to be, this gets a little bit into the strategy, but if you get 3 small camps and 1 large one, then all of a sudden you have enough for a terror, right? That's 90 plus, 15? So 105. If you take 2 of the large ones, you'll have 120. And so you'll see there's different combinations here. You can even steal some from one of your enemy's camps to get up to that 100. And you know how you do that, how you go about that is a little bit more complex than this video is intended for. But we'll definitely talk about that in the future. It's definitely something to keep in mind: the timing of the merc camps, and also how you're going to take the siege, what siege you're going to take and when. But yeah, without getting into this too much, we've talked about the basics of how the map's laid out. You got the 3 lanes, you've got the 6 merc camps, 3 on each side of the map, and then you have the 6 horror camps, 4 small and 2 large ones that come out during the night cycle. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and let's switch the viewer up here. And actually, you know what we'll probably do is actually just go ahead and split this into 2 parts. I'm going to jump into a custom game here, but we'll do 2 parts for people that want to view it that way. Alright, so back with part 2 shortly.